Hello students, this is Mrs. Shweta Ladha from Ferguson College Pune, your biology teacher. Today I am going to start with a fresh new chapter, chapter 5, Origin and Evolution of Life. Now students, when we think about present day life, it is really a big mystery how this earth was formed, how different type of life organisms might have come, how water, how unicellular, multicellular organisms, plants, animals might have evolved. There was a lot of research done in the field of genetics, biochemistry, biotechnology, anatomy, physiology, and lot of theories were proposed. Some scientists, they gave the theory, some people, we will say, religious theories were proposed of special creation, that there is one almighty God and he created this beautiful universe. Then there is a theory of abiogenesis, that non-living organisms suddenly turned into living organism. Imagine a drop of water falling down and becoming into a frog, or becoming into a fish, or a stone is becoming into a snake. But this theory was of course disapproved. Then came the theory of biogenesis, that the present day life is originating from the pre-existing life. Then came the theory of chemical evolution. Then there was a panspermia theory, that life on the earth, present day life, they evolved because of some life that fall from meteorites from the space, and NASA also gave some proof regarding to it. But irrespective of so many theories, this is a big question, yet a big mystery to be solved. Today we are going to study only about one topic from this chapter, modern synthetic theory of evolution, in detail. Most of the portion from this chapter has been deleted, and then we'll proceed with another topic, that is human evolution, how human being evolved. Now dear students, I had taught you chapter 3, inheritance and variation, and there I missed to taught you about two important factors, that is thalassemia and about somehow sex is determined in a Bonellia worm. First I'll finish that part and then we'll proceed and discuss about chapter 5. So let us begin with a PowerPoint presentation. So let us start first with chapter 3, inheritance and variation. We will be studying the remaining two topics from this chapter. I will discuss about thalassemia first. What is thalassemia? It is an autosomal, inherited, recessive disease. Autosomes, so the genes are present on the autosomes. Inherited, and it is a recessive gene that is present on the autosomes. That is, it will express itself only in homozygous condition. Now hemoglobin molecule, we had seen the structure of hemoglobin molecule when we had studied about hemophilia, or we had studied about sickle cell anemia. Again I'll revise. Hemoglobin is a conjugate protein. It consists of a heme part. Heme means iron and globin means protein. This protein, it is made up of 4 polypeptide chains. So there are 2 alpha chains and 2 beta chains. So if I draw here, this is alpha 1, alpha 2, beta 1 and beta 2. So there are 4 chains, polypeptide chains of globin protein. Synthesis of alpha chain are controlled by 2 closely linked genes, HBA1 and HBA2 on chromosome number 16. This is very important. Always remember the number of chromosome, the autosome number 16. It has 2 genes. And this is also easy to remember. HBA1, hemoglobin A1 and hemoglobin A2. So A1 is responsible for synthesis of alpha 1. A2 will be responsible for synthesis of alpha 2. Similarly, the synthesis of beta chains, it is controlled by a single gene, HBB, hemoglobin beta you can say, or HBB, which is present on chromosome number 11. So alpha chains are synthesized because of chromosome number 16, 2 genes present on chromosome number 16, and beta chain is synthesized because of chromosome number 11, a gene, single gene, HBB on chromosome number 11. Depending upon which chain is affected, it may happen that there is some problem with this gene or there is some problem with this gene. If there is a problem, if there is some issue with a change in the gene of HBA1 and HBA2, then that too on chromosome number 16, then there will be a different type of defect where alpha chains are not synthesized properly. Or if there is a defect on the gene HBB which is present on chromosome number 11, then it will be responsible for another type of disease. That condition, it is called as thalassemia. Now thalassemia, there are two types, alpha thalassemia and beta thalassemia. In alpha thalassemia, defect is on chromosome number 16. Beta thalassemia, defect is on chromosome number 11. What are the symptoms of thalassemia? As the globin chains are not formed properly, this person, there is a problem with the proper synthesis of hemoglobin, so he or she suffers from anemia, pale yellow skin, change in the shape and size of RBC. Do not get confused with sickle cell anemia. Okay, it is different. There the shape of the RBC changes, sickle cell it becomes. Here it is different. Here the chains, globin chains are not formed properly. Slow growth and development of this person will occur. The urine is dark. Okay, so there is treatment for thalassemia. Massive blood transfusion is done. So it is a quantitative problem of synthesizing incorrect functional globin molecule. Here there is incorrect functional globin molecule seen in thalassemia. So I hope you understood the concept of thalassemia. There are three concepts we related to blood we have studied. Sickle cell anemia, hemophilia where blood did not clot, sickle cell where the RBC became sickle shape, and thalassemia where globin chains are not formed properly, either alpha or beta. Now one more interesting concept which I want to discuss is environmental factors are also determining the sex in an organism. If you remember, we studied heterogamety in male, female. Then we also studied how the sex is determined in case of honeybees, especially the queen bee, the sterile female worker bee, and the drone, how it was produced by parthenogenesis. We are going to study one interesting concept, ki how environment also plays an important role in determination of sex. For this, we'll study the example of Bonellia viridis. Bonellia viridis is a worm. The environment factors determine the sex of the individual in this worm, Bonellia viridis. The marine worm has 10 centimeter body. The shape or the size of the body is 10 centimeter. Having a long proboscis, you can see in the picture, the size is only 10 centimeter, but it is having a very long proboscis, and that can extend over 1 meter. Okay, if its larvae settle on the sea floor, these are the larvae which are 3 millimeter in size. If they settle on the sea floor, they are found in benthos in the ocean bed, on the ocean bed. If they are developing or if they are depositing on the sea floor, then they will develop into a female. However, if a larvae enters the female worm's mouth and reaches its uterus, it differentiates into a male. But accidentally, or however it is entering into the female's body, reaching into the uterus of the female worm, then that larvae will develop into a male. So environment is playing important role. If the worm is outside on the sea floor, it will develop into a female. If it is inside the uterus of the female, it will develop into a male. So this is very important. Male lives as a parasite. In our textbook, they have mentioned the term parasite, but if you read on internet or somewhere else, you will come to a term, it is symbiotic, because it is staying inside, it is getting food, it helps as copulation, fertilization, and in return it is getting home to stay. So anyways, we will follow our textbook. Male lives as a parasite in the uterus of the female, fertilizing her egg. In some books, you will find that it is given an example of mutualism. I purposefully am mentioning both the things. You should know the reality. Anyway, so this was one more factor. Now I have completely finished chapter 3, and let us start with a fresh new chapter, Origin and Evolution of Life. It is a big mystery how origin and evolution of life might have occurred, how present day organism might have developed. I already discussed that there are many theories which are proposing that origin of life occurred in this way: biogenesis, special creation, spontaneous generation, chemical evolution. There is Darwinism. He studied a lot about this, but we are not going to study this in the today's chapter because most of the portion is deleted for board March 21 exam. Deleted portion 5.1, origin of life is deleted. 5.2, chemical evolution of life is deleted. 5.3, organic evolution is deleted. 5.4, Darwinism is deleted. 5.5, mutation theory is deleted. 5.6 we will be studying 5.7 mechanism of organic evolution is deleted. 5.8 Hardy-Wingberg principle is deleted for board March exam 21. 5.9 adaptive radiation is deleted, students. Please note down these points properly. 5.10 evidences of organic evolution is deleted, and 5.11 speciation is also deleted. So most of the portion is deleted. If you see, only we are going to study 5.6 and 5.13. 5.12 is also deleted, geological time scale. We are going to study only 5.6 and 5.13, that is human evolution. Today I am going to start with 5.6, and that 5.6 is modern synthetic theory of evolution. Very, very important, very, very interesting theory. Let us start and see what this theory says. It is the result of true synthesis of all biological discipline. Studies pertaining to genetics, ecology, anatomical, paleontological, geographical were pursued to explain the mechanism of evolution. I told you, different scientists, they propose different types of knowledge, different types of studies using genetics, ecology, anatomy. Anatomy is study of structure of organisms. Paleontology. Paleontology is evidences, the fossil evidences. This also help in proving how evolution occur. Geographical variation, differences between mammals, or differences how it occurred between different type of fish or amphibia, reptile, even in plants. So with the help of knowledge of all these branches, it was tried to explain how mechanism of evolution might have occurred. And also due importance was given to both mutations and natural selection. Mutation, sometimes genes, they change, they mutated, they deleted, they duplicate, and they gave rise to a different character. And nature plays a very important role in selecting an organism. So all these knowledges together help us to study the course of evolution. Many scientists like R. Fisher, J.B.S. Haldane, T. Dobzhansky, J. Huxley, E. Mayer, Simpson, Stebbins, Sewall Wright, T.H. Morgan, they are the main contributors of modern theory of evolution. Stebbins in his book discussed 5 key factors that contributed in the evolution of new species. And we are going to study these 5 key factors in detail while studying the modern synthetic theory of evolution. Students, I again suggest take a pen, pencil, book, whatever, and write down these points. I'll try to give you examples and explain it in detail. First, we are going to discuss about gene mutation. Then the second factor, chromosomal mutation, genetic recombination, natural selection, and reproductive isolation. These are the 5 key factors which are responsible for evolution of new species according to modern theory of evolution. Gene mutation, genetic recombination, chromosomal mutation, natural selection, and the 5th one is reproductive isolation. Let us study them one by one. First, let us see what is a population. Mendelian population. Small interbreeding group of population is referred as Mendelian population. This is a group of organism, okay? They are staying together. This is organism X, Y, Z. They are able to interbreed among themselves. Such small group of organisms staying together and they are interbreeding among themselves. They are termed as Mendelian population. What is a gene pool? The total genetic information, listen carefully, gene pool is the genetic information, total genetic information encoded in sum total of genes in a Mendelian population is called gene pool. Now this was our Mendelian population, okay? There were a number of organisms staying here, and these organisms, all of them have genes, all have them some genes which are encoding for some characters, and they are a population, they can interbreed among themselves. And if we are calculating the total genetic information in them, we will term it as a gene pool. Or in simple language, it is the sum of the total genes present in that population. सगळ्यांचा प्लस करून टाकलं genes से. It is a total or it is a sum of the genes present of all the individuals present in a population. Simply, gene pool means total number of genes of all the individuals in a population. Suppose this is individual A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. this has gene, this has gene, this has gene, everybody has gene. And if you take a total of all the genes of all this individual in a population, we will call it as a gene pool. Migration of population alters gene pool. Yes, migration leaving a population or entering a population, it alters the gene pool. Gene pool also changes due to replacement of one generation by another in Mendelian population. As every generation new people are added, old organisms are deleted. This also changes the Mendelian population. Thus, any change in the gene pool, if there is any change in the gene pool, either birth, death, migration, immigration, emigration, it will affect the population. Look at this. This is a population of frogs. Okay. You can see there are different varieties of frogs staying together, but they are interbreeding. The color is a bit different, just an example. But they are staying together. It is a population. They can interbreed among themselves. So everybody has gene. This frog has gene. This frog has gene. And the sum of all the genes of these frogs in this population is nothing but the gene pool. So I hope you understood. Even if one frog goes, gene pool will change. Another frog comes, gene pool will change. This frog dies, gene pool change. This frog gives rise to many birth of small frogs, the gene pool change, isn't it? Let us see what are genes. Genes are arranged linearly on the chromosomes having definite position. So these are chromosomes. What are genes? Genes are located on the chromosomes. They are linearly arranged in a straight line on the chromosome, and every gene has a definite position. I hope you remember the term. I had only explained you. The term was loci. Every gene has a specific loci. According to Mendel, every gene that influences a trait has two alleles. Any trait. I hope you remember inheritance and variation. I had discussed about, suppose this is a gene for height, tallness. Another, and chromosomes always appear in a pair. This is the homologous chromosome. So it will also have a gene for height, tallness. So this capital T and capital T, they are alleles of each other. What are alleles? Alleles are a pair of genes located on the same loci on the homologous chromosomes. So this is the simple thing. Gene, it is influencing a trait and it has two allelic pair. It can be capital T, it can be capital T, small t, it can be small t, small t. All these concepts you have already studied. Gene frequency, proportion of an allele in the gene pool to the total number of alleles at a given locus is called as the gene frequency. Suppose we have a big population. This is tall, so gene will be TT. If this is also tall but heterozygous tall, TT. Another is dwarf, small t, another is dwarf, small t, another is dwarf, small t. Now in this case, listen carefully. What is gene frequency? Proportion of an allele. How many dwarf are there? 3. In the gene pool, this is the gene pool. How many tall are there? 2. To the total number, what is the total number? 5. So out of 5, how many are dwarf? 3. Now, in a gene pool, to the total number of alleles at a given locus. Of course, each one's height ka genes will be having the same locus. So this is the frequency of dwarfness. Simple. The proportion of an allele. We are talking about the proportion of which allele right now? Small t. This is just an example. In the gene pool, to the total number of the allele at a given locus is called as gene frequency. Just to explain you, I'll just give you one more example. Look at this carefully. Okay, now you can see here a population of, sample population of mice. We'll just erase this and I'll continue. Yeah. So here is a sample population. You can see there are mice, black in color, but they are heterozygous. And what is the proportion? I think it is 48%. Brown mice, they are 36%. So the mice which are brown in color, they are 36%. Homozygous brown. Homozygous black are 16%. Frequency of allele for brown fur, this is represented by this. Allele for black fur, it is represented by black color. So if you want to consider or calculate the gene frequency for this homozygous black, what you will do? How are you determining that it is 16%? You are calculating how many black are there. What type of black? Homozygous black are there. And then you are making a proportion out of the total number of the alleles that are present in that gene pool. I hope it is very, very simple and you have understood. Gene frequency is proportion of an allele. For this case, we are talking about proportion of homozygous black. Suppose we represented it with capital B, capital B. Homozygous black, it is representing by suppose capital B, capital B. So we are going to calculate the gene frequency for capital B in the entire gene pool to the total number of alleles at the given locus. So we'll compare it with the total number of genes that are present, and here it comes to 16% only. Now let us start modern synthetic theory of evolution. We had just seen the basics. This theory is based on 5 main factors which are broadly divided into 3 main concepts. And we are going to study the 3 concepts as genetic variation. First, we will study in detail about genetic variation, where we will study about mutation, recombination and migration. Then we will discuss about natural selection, and then finally we will discuss about isolation. So what are the 3 basic concepts we are going to study in modern synthetic theory of evolution? We will study genetic variation, natural selection, isolation. How do the gene variate? How do they differentiate? Because of mutation or recombination or migration. So genetic variation, natural selection and isolation. Let us start with genetic variation. The change in the gene and gene frequencies is known as genetic variation. It is caused because of the following factors. Any gene, if it changes, any gene frequency, if it changes in a population, it is called as genetic variation. For example, if in your family everybody has brown eyes and suddenly you have a small cousin baby brother who has blue eyes. Everybody had black eyes, but new baby is having blue eyes. Means some gene has changed, some variation has occurred. Now why this variation occurred? It occurs because of gene mutation. Sudden permanent heritable change is called as mutation. What is mutation? It is a change. Mutation is nothing but a change. It is suddenly occurring and it is permanent. You cannot now change the color of the baby. We don't want a blue-eyed baby, we will change it to black. No, it is not possible. It is a sudden change, it is a permanent change, it is a heritable change. It may happen that when baby grows elderly, he marries and he have children, some of his children again may have blue eyes. So it is a heritable change. This is called as mutation. Mutation may occur in a gene. Mutation changes may occur in a gene, in the chromosome or in the number of chromosomes also. Chromosome number may change, the position of gene in the chromosome may change, so mutation may occur there. If it is occurring within a single gene, then it is called as a point mutation or gene mutation. Suppose this is the sequence AT, CG, GC, TA. I hope you are understanding what I am trying to explain. Nucleotide sequences. And only if suppose one gene sequences change, a single gene sequence change, then it is called as a point mutation or it is called as a gene mutation. This leads to change in the phenotype. If there is a small mutation, small change, then it leads to the change in the phenotype of an organism, and it leads to variation. So I hope you are understanding what is point mutation and how it is causing to gene mutation. Now, this is suppose a DNA with a normal gene, and when a normal gene is present, a normal protein is formed. But if there is a mutated gene, a point mutation, only one base pair is deleted, duplicated, changed, something happens, alters, then either an abnormal protein will be formed or no protein will be formed, and point mutation lead to a different character. Sickle cell anemia was a very good example of point mutation. GUG, if you remember, changed to GAG, and then the shape of the RBC changed. I won't revise that again, but that is a good example of point mutation. So we spoke about mutation. Mutation occurs because of genetic recombination in sexually reproducing organisms. Students, you have studied this in 11th standard. When meiosis takes place, meiosis has 2 stages, meiosis 1, meiosis 2. In meiosis 1, we have prophase 1 and all. So in prophase 1, if you remember, there are 5 steps. Zygote, leptotene, zygote, pachytene, diplotene, dikinesis. And that time, if you remember, homologous chromosomes, they pair together. That is called as zygote. They pair. Then what happened? Crossing over takes place. And when crossing over takes place, there is breaking and recombination occurs. You can see here, when it broke, The red part from the second chromosome came to the earlier chromosome, and the blue part, it got stick to the other chromosome. Chiasmata formation occurs, crossing over takes place, genes get exchanged, and therefore recombination occur. And that is the reason why that you can see you have some characters which are similar to your grandparents, either paternal grandparents or maternal grandparents, because you never know, you might have got a recombined gene like this. And also remember, students, we have 23 pairs of homologous chromosomes, and if in meiosis it is occurring in any 7, 8 or 9, 10 pairs, you might be having so many recombined genes. So in sexually reproducing organism, during gamete formation, exchange of genetic material occurs between two non-sister chromatids of homologous chromosomes, which is called as crossing over. And crossing over results into new genetic combinations. Then migration. Migration is also one of the important factor which leads to combination. Gene flow. It is the movement of genes into or out of the population. This is A population, this is B population. One of the beetle from A, it went to B. It left A, gene pool change here. It entered into B, gene pool change in the B population also. Gene movement may be in the form of migration of an organism. Directly an organism may migrate, or gamete may migrate, or a segment of DNA may pass. And then there is an example of genetic drift. Very important factor, genetic drift. Any random fluctuation, accident, or alteration in a gene frequency occurring in the natural population by pure chance, it is called as genetic drift. I'll give you an example, it will become easy. This is a mountain, okay, and here there are, on this height of the mountain, white sheep were grazing. At the lower height, there were black sheep, they were grazing. Somehow white sheep and black sheep did not mate, their genes did not mix. Suddenly one day a big landslide occurred, a big piece of land fall on the white sheep, and all white sheep, they died. Accidentally, suddenly, random fluctuation occurred. All the white sheep got killed. Now what is remaining? Only black sheep are remaining. Such type of accidental random fluctuation, alteration in allele frequency is called as genetic drift. Let me give you one more example. Look at this population. It is a population of beetle. You can see there are 5 blue beetles and 5 red beetles. Is it clear? I'll just erase this so that it becomes clear to you. Yeah. So now you can see that there is a population of beetles, 5 red and 5 blue. But suddenly you did not like this population. You took a racket and killed. A big swat you gave and you killed some of the beetles. Now what was proportion? 5:1. Now when they reproduce, these 5 red gave rise to 10, but the blue could give only 1, give rise to 2. So now the ratio changed from 5:5, that is 1:1 to 10:2. So this is nothing but genetic drift. We will continue remaining portion in the next lecture. Yes, students. So we have begun with modern synthetic theory of evolution. In this first factor we discussed today was about genetic variation, how genetic variation affects the gene pool. Then we discussed about migration, how it affects the gene pool, gene flow affects the gene pool, death or birth affects the gene pool, even deletion, duplication of mutation, chromosomal recombinations also affect the gene pool. We'll continue this modern synthetic theory in the next lecture. Thank you.